Welcome back. Welcome back. The boys are here after a little hiatus. Busy last few weeks for everybody, but I'm moving. If you can't tell, my setup's a little janky. However, we're
Let's
here.
see what's going on back there.
No, it's not. It's
Okay.
what we did. But no, we're going to talk Minnesota Timberwolves offseason today. Tough conference finals for them, but they'll be back. I have no doubt in my mind that this team is going to be special for years to come, except a lot of offseason decisions to make because, boy, are they cap strapped. We'll get into it all, but we're going to go with possible guys they could really sign and trade for because free agency is not really an option for them, which we'll get into for all the Wolves fans that haven't really gave it much thought, considering you guys were just possibly trying to go to the finals. So we'll go into it here. The Wolves are in a weird spot because out of their top four highest paid players, which is Towns, Anthony Edwards, Gobert, and Jaden McDaniels, they're already 10 million over the cap. So it's tough to do that. So they're just basically crossing the second apron. So that also, those don't include the contracts of Naz Reid, of Mike Conley, who are both making 14 and 10 mil basically per year. And then after this season, this upcoming season, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to have to be re-signed. And it's just a tough situation for them to be in. But we're going to go through possible guys for sign and trades. What could the Wolves do moving off of guys? Because I think if they want to make any moves to kind of establish what their needs are, they're going to have to move off one of their quote-unquote big three. But yeah, what are your thoughts on just the Wolves and if they should keep this core intact or should they try and mess it up a bit?
I mean, I don't want to kind of beat a dead horse because I've talked about this before, but like they have absolutely zero reason, in my personal opinion, to make any move in the offseason. You got your core of Cat, finally got some good playoff experience. Gobert is going to be Gobert no matter what. Ant got way better. He even said, I see what it takes now. Like, I can't take days off, blah, blah, blah. I got to be able to play deep into the playoffs. Your young guys, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels, emerging stars, guys who started to play well. They get better every day. Like, this is just a run-it-back situation. Let the team get better. Let them continue to play together and practice. And there's literally, and you're going to throw a bunch at me right now, so I'm ready to catch them. I got open arms, but there's nothing you're going to say that I'm going to be like, oh, that's the move.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't disagree. Like, I do think they should relatively keep this.
Why would you touch what they got going on when what they got going on the defensive front is Gobert, who's going to be solid. He's not going to get worse. And young guys who are all like just getting first playoff experience or whatever. Like, you got no reason to touch that.
First real deep playoff experience. I mean, they've been in the playoffs, but like not anything crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason to touch that squad at all. It's the same thing I said with the Knicks video. I mean, different reasons, but same outcome.
Yeah, no, I just think that for the Wolves in the playoffs, you get your biggest weakness exposed. And the Nuggets weren't able to do it because they didn't have the consistent rim protection that the Mavs had and the consistent size on the floor. Because once Jokic went out, it was just layup lines for them. And they also just had the size to match Nikola Jokic in some sort of way, as best as you can. But I think the biggest issue was, and especially in the Mavs series, is they didn't have any consistent scoring options outside of Anthony Edwards. And to be fair, he wasn't – I know how good he was.
Karl Anthony Towns was MIA.
I know, but you need the consistent scoring from the wing. Anthony Edwards is going to be good, and especially if he can have another, I don't want to say co-star, but a consistent scoring wing that can go and score and create for others and himself. That's what I think their biggest need is. And Karl Anthony Towns should be that, considering he's getting paid an ungodly amount of money over the next 5 years because he's signed for the next 5. So, like, this team needs a scoring wing. In this article that I was reading, they have the 27th and 37th draft pick. There's a guy from the University of Miami, freshman, 6'8" wing. It's like they're in a position where you can go and test out a potential guy, like an unsure draft pick. You can do that now because you're solidified as probably a top 5 team in the Western Conference year in, year out with this team. Your defense is going to keep you in every single game you play. That's just point blank period how it is. It's just, are you going to be able to score enough? Because the Mavs basically just put 4 on Anthony Edwards, everyone in help, and no one else could really beat him because no one else could hit shots consistently enough. Jaden McDaniels, I thought, had a good first few games, and Cat just wasn't.
How old is
he? Who?
Jay McDaniels.
22, 23?
This
But
is what
yeah.
so like, but what's to say he can't be a 15, 17 a night guy with big bursts?
Fair, but I also think we'll get into it here. I think that he's going to be a piece of the future for this team no matter what. I think the two guys you could even remotely say that you would possibly move off of are a Karl-Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert. Pick your poison. If for the sake of the argument, let's say you're going to move off one of these guys. I think it should be Cat, even though as much as I think Gobert is the most overrated player ever, and come playoff time he gets exposed every single year. So sue me, but I think that Cat's the better option to move off of. One, because of the money. He's signed for the next 5 years till 2028. So you got him for the next 4 seasons at the minimum if you're trading for him. I mean, yes, he's making a ton of money, but in 2-3 years' time, that's money's going to be pretty much just the average salary for like all-star level guys. Like that's what it's going to be. That's how contracts work. That's how the salary cap works. You're going to be able to go and get that. And then you also, I thought Naz Reid overall played pretty comparable level basketball to Karl-Anthony Towns for about $35 million cheaper. So like,
you don't want to put all your, and look, I'm Naz Reid for president.
Okay,
but you don't want to put all your eggs in that basket.
Fair enough. I definitely think Karl-Anthony Towns is a better player than Naz Reid, and I know Wolves fans, you're Naz Reid fans. So are we. We've met the guy. He's a good dude. But like this is a thing with money. You can't when you hit that second apron, you can't do any move. You have no mid-level exception. You have no way to sign free agents. It's just tough because you're so cap strapped. And Mike Conley's getting older, so those are just contracts and stuff, things like that.
But the whole thing that's making them so dangerous is low key the Twin Towers, and low key was Karl-Anthony Towns. Like,
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I know that it was spectacular. That's not what I'm saying. But Cat was, like we said pre-series, he didn't show up, missing persons report. But before the series started, we said he's the X factor. He's got to tighten up, dial it in. He shot like shit from 3. Everyone shoots like shit from 3. Sometimes it's fine. It was a bad time of the year to do it. He, in my opinion, is such a good player. Like, he's such a slept-on player. I get he has his issues and his quirks, but like what he could bring to any team, I don't know. I think he's just so underrated.
I agree. I just think it's a consistency thing for me. That's the biggest problem. He's just this roller coaster, and we've seen it year in, year out. There's so many fouls, even in that game 5 where they got demolished, or game 4 or 3, sorry. There's just so many bad fouls. Like he had 2 over the backs in a charge and you foul out. Like you just simply can't do
That's
like
fair.
I know we played really well before that, but like even in that game, it was game 4, excuse me. But like even in that, you can't foul out in that situation. So let me just float a name out here. I think it would be good for both sides, and I think it would make the Wolves, I don't want to say a level above where they are right now, but it's a possibility of, I think, moving the needle for like the next 2-3 years.
Toss it out.
It's a sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso for Cat and Nikhil Alexander Walker. I haven't done the money and all of that stuff. I haven't done all the money and all that. But there's just an idea in my head that I thought of because DeMar is a free agent and you're not going to be able to sign a guy like DeMar DeRozan. But it gives you the wing scoring you need. It's pretty damn consistent considering he just never misses, it feels like. And yes, he's older, but he's going to help you contend more consistently than a Karl-Anthony Towns might offensively. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think they should do this. Just a possibility.
You would think, knowing me, that I would be all for super team build, get stars, whatever from my past. But now kind of where I sit with the NBA is like, let's try and organically build something here. And I like AC for them.
AC for them. I don't know if the money would all work, but Cat makes so much. And then if you can sign, because DeMar is not going to get a max contract. He should.
I don't even like DeMar on that roster. My thing is like you have young guys that are like trying to come up. What in this case specifically, I'm talking about Jaden McDaniels. So like you don't want to have anyone, and I get vet presence is great, and people say it helps development. You don't want to have somebody come in that's going to stunt the development as he starts to show flashes as a 22-year-old that wasn't even considerable of any caliber before the playoffs or before this season or whatever. He's starting to show some flashes. Like, he could be a piece long term. You have no idea. Like, you don't want to be stunting his growth in any way by bringing in a 2 guard to start over him. That's kind of what I mean by keeping it in-house, though. Like, I see where you're going with Cat, but him, you don't want to, obviously, you're not saying get rid of him, but you don't want to stunt his growth by bringing someone new in. And I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker could be a great NBA piece.
Yeah, I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I don't think he's going to develop as much more than he would.
But he could be a solid piece.
Yes, I think he could be a 7th, 8th man on a championship team. I believe that wholeheartedly. It's just the issue of a Mike Conley leaving in a few years. Can you get a replacement for him through this trade? And you're getting a young-ish Caruso, who's, I believe, around 28, 29. And then, you're getting an older player, but you're also getting off a contract that's huge. I'm not saying to do this. I'm just throwing the idea out there.
Do you have any other ideas?
There's always the Paul George.
I knew you were going to do it. I should have put a money line out for the video.
That's just like the number one. It's the number one thing. I feel like he's just going to stay in LA.
That I wouldn't make that trade with your dick. Pause. I really would never do that. I don't want to. Phantom 12.
12 is in chat, but
yo,
I really would never.
Minnesota, right?
Yeah, I would never want to.
Go ahead. I was gonna say I saw a tweet today, and you know how like you can like merge two people, like we've seen Ant and MJ. I saw TJ McCollum mixing CJ McCollum and TJ McConnell headed to the Minnesota Timberwolves, but that was just a troll. But maybe P, I like what they got going with Nas Reed, and like I heard maybe Matt Barnes or somebody say that they could move on from Cat and just let Nas Reed really facilitate that role as the starting four, and you got opportunity really.
There's a lot of things that can happen that won't happen. I think that's the moral of the story. There's a lot of trades that are possible, but I just don't see any of them actually going through. They have a lot of turnover anyway with just ownership and all that stuff going on, and their owner's normally pretty cheap and has moved off guys early so they don't have to pay them. So that's the only concern I have, and that's the only reason I could see a possible trade being made. But
if you were cutting the checks, what would you do?
I feel like I would have to trade someone. I don't know who that would be.
Hey, let them rock.
Not someone.
Maybe after next year, if they fall short again, or like I just want to let them cook.
No,
hey,
I don't disagree.
I don't disagree.
It's just if he was rumored, but because they've always liked them. But no, there's just a lot of turnover that can happen that I don't think will. Personally, you'd have to move off someone because you want to also think for the future here. If we want to go future based, Mike Conley's old, man. He's played 18 or 17 seasons.
What would you do if you were cutting the checks? The people want to know a definitive answer.
For next season only? Nothing.
Yes.
Nothing.
All right, perfect.
I'm just letting the guys run it back and see what we got. See if this was kind of a fluky run, or are we going to go back to the conference finals, maybe the finals, see what happens. But yeah, that's it for this one.
They got something to prove.
Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.